What's going on, YouTube? This is a video response for Schaeff and our clique. The subject is gay worms. I opened it. Schaeff said I opened it. Let me start out by saying where I stand, who I am, what perspective I'm going to bring to this, and you can elect to tune out if you want. I think from what I see of our group and from what I see of the communities that I usually lean to, I tend to be the most liberal of the circles that I walk. I would say politically, while Savage said that I seem to be a bit of a conservative centrist. That's possible, but I can more easily identify with the term liberal and, make of that what you will. I don't believe in change for change's sake, but I may have a different perspective towards social equity than some of you listening. So if you could, lend me your ear. Schaeff, in your response, a couple things stood out to me. First, this is sort of fun. When you talked about gay worms, I'm always thinking of music. So you have Follow the Worms by Pink Floyd. So if you want to play that in the back of your mind, all you have to do is send in the worms. Or follow the worms. It's Follow the Worms. My bad. That's what I get for having a small IQ, right? So you had said that you don't know how a homosexual individual feels. You also mentioned that some people, which I think you said some people, whenever they lead that sort of lifestyle, it's as if a person has this newfound freedom and they're actually going absolutely nuts, just bouncing off the walls, wanting to scream it from the streets. This is me, like a child who's been oppressed by their parents all their years of growing up, and finally they have that freedom. And what ends up happening? To me, I was watching you, and to me, when you mentioned that those sort of lifestyle choices are like yeast and how they spread and rot, and I'm like mentally visualizing what happens to bread dough when yeast is introduced and it just expands in an uncontrollable way. I get what you're saying there. And I put that together with politically and socially right now, there is a campaign of equity, meaning give me your weary, give me your oppressed, and we will exalt them. It's a conscious social effort to lift up those individual groups. And if I understand where you stand, it appears to annoy and offend you. I'm not going to try to straw man, and when you were talking about the sexual proclivities of these individuals, because I see what you're saying. Your morals and how you feel is the way you are, which I see you as a very traditional suburban dad. In a way, you and I are quite similar in that we're both American suburban dads. But the approach to how to push back to a social process that you don't agree with, I think is very different. From what I can tell, you even began ranting in your video as you spooled up and you were thinking about these different things that piss you off. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, who created the lever and who pulled the lever? We had a training when I was working for General Motors, and I'm going to imagine that it's not going to be unique for any corporate situation. Things like sales and management are studied, and what they pointed out in the beginning of it, the very beginning, and this is how it prefaced. They had determined that people of the LGBTQ plus community have the highest percentage of disposable income of any community and sales source. And the approach was taken that this was a untapped resource at the time. This was 10 years ago. So they got into sensitivity training, how to treat individuals, what were our expectations as ambassadors of our company, if you will, and what we perceived that those individuals who belong to that community wanted. Oddly, other than the first part, like if you get into the first third of that, some may see that, well, this is untapped disposable income. They don't have the usual social approach of how they spend their money. They tend to have more. So if you want to get the money from those people, you can pander to them, you can appeal to them, and that's what I see is happening with the politics. Next thing you know, politicians get to make all the money off of this social war. The people of that community give money to their favorite politician who they believe will bring those policies that they say they care about, and the people who want to fight back against wokeness will give money to their political people. And we're supporting this system of civil war. That's what I was getting to. If they had only kept on to the last part of that training, in that I was trained and I was told that you don't make a person's appearance, or if you discover their lifestyle is a certain thing, you don't make that a issue. But you responded to that, Schaeff, I believe, by saying that you're not going to see it as normal. So you're thinking that those people aren't normal and they possess a mental illness that they should be seeking treatment for, if I understand correctly. And you're a kind suburban individual. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that is how I took your video. I disagree with that thought. I believe that individuals who are gay do seem to have, like, if you find a person who identifies as homosexual, or who identifies as a person who doesn't feel like they belong in their own body, they tend to have other adjacent mental illnesses also. As a result, from the polls and the medical statistics, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, there's a very high suicide and self-harm rate for the people in those communities. And I care about things like that, and I see that as a problem. Whether that homosexuality is a primary mental illness, but when a person is underage, or if a person is unaware that they need to seek mental health treatment, then, you know, how do they get it, or what is the responsibility of the community towards the mentally ill? Now, you could say, I don't care, it's none of my business, but I think because of the internet and social networks and the propensity of violence, I'm talking like school shooters and that kind of shit, I think we'd be surprised how it becomes our problem, you know? And especially when so-called community leaders aren't interested in correcting the problem. They're interested in fanning the flame so they can make more money. So there's your happy thought for a Monday. And all right, we'll catch y'all later.